All right, Foundations of Sports Science, time to wrap up the semester. So what I want to do in this presentation is go over some of the highlights of what we did this semester and how the course was laid out. And then do that in a way to leave you with a good perspective of sports science. So I want to go back to this model, which I presented in week 2 of the semester. This model is important because as a sports scientist, you are typically working with an athlete or a team or some individual who's training for something, some sport. And what you want is to help that athlete be a high performer, and you want them to be healthy. So healthy can mean everything from physical health to mental health, maybe financial health, whatever health means. So it can have several different contexts. And high performer can also mean many different things. It can mean elite athlete, elite performance. It could mean an athlete who is trying to maximize their potential. And that may not be elite. I always use the marathon runner who may be just trying to train to complete a marathon versus trying to compete in a marathon. And that high performance could be when the athlete wants to complete an event. And so we need to understand that healthy and high performer is not necessarily, there's no clear definition of what those are. But that's the mindset that we are having, is that we are trying to help someone move into this quadrant or this group of athletes. We want sport to be a healthy part of someone's life as opposed to an unhealthy part of someone's life. And we want them to achieve whatever goals they want to achieve in sport. So we want to avoid getting healthy underperformers. And we really want to avoid unhealthy underperformer as well as unhealthy high performer. Because we want to take sport as something we value, and we value participation in sport, and so we really are trying to move our athletes to this top right corner. So to do that, we have to take an interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary approach, because there's no single person who understands all different aspects of that will influence an athlete's performance or an athlete's health. And so this model, again, was presented early in the semester, and there's all different facets to an athlete here. And notice that all these little circles here are not filled in, because there's a lot more than what's even identified here, with coaching, strength and conditioning, mental health and performance, sports science, sports nutrition, sports medicine, research and innovation, biomechanics, applied epidemiology, education, data science. I can't see that one. Performance management, and brain health. So we have all these different aspects that influence an athlete's health or an athlete's performance. Now remember, keep that in context. We're not just talking about elite athletes. We're not only talking about professional athletes. We're talking about everyday athletes as well. And we need to get these different groups to work together to ultimately help this athlete, as well as do individual work and then bring that information forward to a performance team. And so throughout the semester, really have emphasized the interdisciplinary nature of sports science, and multidisciplinary too, but really the interdisciplinary nature of working with different people to help an athlete move into that top quadrant of being healthy and being a high performer. Now, during the semester, we tackled each week with a different topic. So we started off with just a sports science overview, giving a big picture of sports science and providing some definition of that. Then we talked about interdisciplinary team roles, especially on a sport performance team at like college or professional organization where you have a team of individuals working to help support the athletes and coaches and other staff members. Then we dove into some specific topics like exercise physiology, which you should have a strong foundation of as you move into the sports science world. Biomechanics, again, this is the next important area to know because typically sports scientists are measuring things, and we need to understand some of the kinetics and kinematics that we can measure to understand performance, evaluate performance, maybe predict performance, or identify return to play criteria, what have you. We talked about sport data analytics, and this is really an area that's really grown quite quickly given all the instruments that have come out that collect a lot of data. And so sport data analytics is really about analyzing all the different data, all the different metrics that are being measured and recorded, and trying to pull some of that information together in an understandable way for an athlete, a coach, a performance team, administrators, or whomever you're dealing with. We talked about sport nutrition, very important to know what to eat as a regular diet, as well as what to fuel with during an event and after an event or training. Then we talked about sport psychology as well, mental skills that are related to high performance. And we did combine testing, and this is where I dove into some of the details of collecting information on athletes. And the subsequent class to this one, the follow-up class, is sport performance testing. And that's where we actually go more in depth on this combine testing. We'll actually go into the details of each piece of equipment that's used in combine testing. And along the same vein, we talked about technology in sport. And then communication skills, because these different groups need to talk to each other. And it sounds easy, but it's not, because each area has their own language, their own terms. And sometimes they have the same term, but they define it differently. They look at it in a different context. And so working on communication skills as a sports scientist is critical. And again, this is not the full range of people that you talk to as a sports scientist. Could be industry partners, could be administrators, what have you. And then the last one is the sport business, where at the collegiate level, the NIL, name, image, and likeness, has really grown rapidly, and sport is a business. Professional sport teams, they're a business. They're trying to make money. It's not always the case, for athletes, especially when we think of age group athletes and participatory-based sports like marathon or triathlon. Those athletes are not trying to make money, but the people running the races, running the events, they are trying to make money. And so there is a business aspect that sports scientists are often connected to. And it could also be a sports scientist is going to be innovative in terms of generating a new algorithm that would be sold maybe in the form of an app, or maybe actually helps develop some type of equipment that's used by athletes for testing, evaluating athlete performance. And so this is how we laid out the semester. And now we're just trying to pull this all together. Lots of different information from lots of different areas. And as a sports scientist, you need to understand each of these different areas. You don't need to be an expert in each of these areas, because you simply want to collaborate with people who are the sports nutrition experts. They are the biomechanics experts. They are the ex-phys experts. And your job is to try to pull that expertise in to help the athlete. I always present this model, this cartoon, for several of my different classes. And The idea is, I've explained this before, this is the six blind or blindfolded scientist in this case, and they go in a room and they're asked to figure out what's the object in the room. Each scientist grabs a different part of the elephant unknowingly, and the scientist says, it's a rope in the room, it's a wall, it's a tree, it's a snake, it's a spear, it's a fan, whatever it is. And that is each discipline. This could be exercise physiology, this could be biomechanics, this could be motor, whatever it is, sports nutrition. And it's not until you get these different groups talking to each other that you understand there's an elephant in the room. And that's not easy. Because some of the parables that tell this story, there's actually violence involved in that different groups hold on to, or different people hold on to their belief that this is a tree. There's no doubt in my mind it's a tree. There's no way it's a fan. And some type of violence breaks out, or arguments, disagreements that are heavy, and that's hard. And so this is the challenge of interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary work, is to work with other people and learn from other people, as well as contribute information in a way that generates knowledge. At the end of the day, it's fun working with sports, doing athlete performance testing, working with companies on testing product. It's fun, and we have a good time. And our Speed Lab is our mobile lab, sport performance education and economic development lab. This is the lab that we go out and bring sports science to the community. We're doing K through 12 education of sports science, demonstrations of sports science. We're doing performance testing of elite athletes with like the Desert Dogs lacrosse team and Vegas Golden Knights and the Las Vegas Lights. And we are working with different organizations that are promoting youth sports. And we're testing those athletes as well. And it's a good time. It's a lot of fun. Because sport, at the end of the day, it should be enjoyable. At Sports Scientists, we are trying to use science to understand sport. Remember, there's two lenses that we really use to look at how to use sports science. One is, how do we help right now? How do we help that athlete? How do we help that team? How do we help that organization? And the other lens is how do we use sports science to generate new knowledge? And that takes a long period of time. Okay, that's the wrap up for the semester. Thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the course.